I built my life from the ground up, brick by brick, choice by choice, only to find out my family thought they had the authority to erase me from it. My name is Zoe, and my 30th birthday began like any other morning, quiet and unassuming, and ended with a piece of paper that could have destroyed me or finally set me free. It was a heavy gold leaf envelope, thick with the weight of intent, and inside was a formal notice of disownment. But I'll get to that in a minute. Growing up, Miller meant existing in the shadows of achievement that felt designed to make me invisible. My father, Michael Miller, was a venture capitalist powerhouse, a man who could turn ideas into gold and wield influence like a weapon. He had an office on the 42nd floor of a glass tower in Midtown Manhattan where deals were closed over single malt scotch and handshakes that moved billions. His name opened doors before he even walked through them. My mother, Jennifer, was a political strategist and lobbyist in Washington, D.C., the type of woman who could make senators nod before they realized why. She wore power suits like armor and had a smile that could freeze a room. And my sister, Jessica? She was the golden child, a brilliant corporate lawyer who had already been fast-tracked for partnership at one of the top firms in the city before I'd even finished grad school. She was 28, already on the cover of legal magazines, already being groomed for partner by 32. And then there was me, Zoe, 30 years old, master's in art history from Columbia, working as a coordinator at one of New York's most prestigious museums, making $70,000 a year. In my family's world, that wasn't just underachieving, it was invisible. The subtle humiliation was constant, like a background static I couldn't mute. It started early. I remember being 8 years old, standing in the kitchen of our Upper East Side brownstone, watching my father toast Jessica's perfect report card while I clutched my own, which had a single B in math. "Jessica," he said, raising his glass of orange juice, "you're going to change the world." I waited for my turn. It never came. Instead, Mom handed me a plate. "Zoe, help with the dishes. You're good at that." I learned then that my role was to serve, to clean up, to stay out of the way. By high school, Jessica was debate champion, valedictorian, accepted early decision to Yale. I was the quiet one, the one who spent lunch in the art room, sketching in charcoal while the other kids talked about college applications. When I got into Columbia on a partial scholarship, Dad nodded once. "Good. Art history, that's nice," Mom added. "Just make sure you have a backup plan, Zoe. Not everyone can afford to be impractical." College was no different. Jessica interned at the DA's office, then landed a clerkship with a federal judge. I worked double shifts at the campus cafe to cover what my scholarship didn't, studied until 3 a.m. Graduated summa cum laude. At my graduation, Dad was on a call in Tokyo. Mom sent flowers with a card. "Proud of you, but Jessica just made law review." I kept the card in a drawer for years, a reminder of where I stood. Thanksgiving dinners were the worst. The table groaned under crystal and silver, the staff hovering in starched uniforms. Dad would toast Jessica's latest win, her new case, her bonus, her engagement to a senator's son. I'd sit at the far end, passing the cranberry sauce, smiling when Mom said, "Zoe, help with the staff, please." "You're used to serving." The words stung every time, but I swallowed them. I kept showing up. Birthdays, holidays, anything, because deep down, I still believed that if I just tried harder, if I just proved myself, they'd see me. Really see me. 2 months before my 30th birthday, I finally started therapy. I'd been having panic attacks for a year, waking up at night with my heart racing, my stomach in knots. My doctor ran blood panels, cortisol through the roof, insomnia, early signs of an ulcer. I sat in Dr. Patel's office, a quiet space in Chelsea with soft lighting and a plant I was pretty sure was fake. She listened as I poured out 30 years of stories, the toasts, the whispers, the way I'd learned to make myself small. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "Zoe, you're not too sensitive. You're being systematically abused. You're the scapegoat." I stared at her. Scapegoat. The word landed like a stone in still water. She explained. "In dysfunctional families, especially high-achieving ones, there's always a golden child and a scapegoat. The golden child reflects perfection. The scapegoat absorbs failure. It's not about love. It's about control, image, survival. I wasn't broken. I was their solution. I started journaling that night. Page after page of memories I'd buried. The time Dad forgot my high school graduation because he was closing a deal. The time Mom introduced me at a gala as Jessica's sister and didn't correct herself when someone asked if I was in law too. The time Jessica got a new car for her 16th birthday and I got a lecture on budgeting. I cried for the first time in years, not from sadness, but from clarity. I saw the pattern and I saw the system, and I saw that I didn't have to stay in it. The moment of change came on a rainy Tuesday night in October. The museum where I worked, the Met, was opening the Alge Wing, a new gallery funded by Sheikh Khalid Alge, one of the wealthiest and most intimidating donors in the art world. He'd given $50 million, but his temper was legendary. The opening was black tie, press everywhere, every board member in attendance. I was the coordinator, which meant I was invisible. My job, make sure the coffee was hot, the placards were straight, the donors were happy. I wore a black dress from Zara, heels I'd had resoled twice, and a name tag that said Zoe Miller, event staff. I was used to blending in, but then I heard the yelling from the loading dock. I was in the back hallway checking catering when William, the chief curator, came running past, face white. "Zoe, stay out of it!" he hissed, but I followed. Sheikh Khalid was in the freight elevator, screaming in Arabic, his aides trying to calm him. A $3 million sculpture, a contemporary piece by an Emirati artist, was stuck in customs at JFK. The opening was in 2 hours. The press was already arriving. William was trembling, trying to explain in broken English. The sheikh cut him off. "This is an insult. I will withdraw for all my funding, all of it." I don't know what made me step forward. Maybe it was the therapy. Maybe it was 30 years of being invisible finally boiling over. I clicked across the marble in my cheap heels and said, "Excuse me." My voice was calm, steady. William froze. The sheikh's gaze snapped to me like a hawk. I took a breath and switched to classical Arabic, the language I'd spent 6 years perfecting for my master's thesis on Islamic astrolabes. I bowed slightly, not subservient, but respectful. "Your Excellency, I am deeply sorry for this delay. It is not the museum's intention to dishonor you or your generosity. May I suggest an alternative?" I spoke slowly, choosing every word. I acknowledged the sculpture's importance, the artist's vision, the cultural weight. Then I proposed a solution, a 17th century astrolabe from the museum's vault, a piece from his homeland, small but priceless in symbolism. It wasn't a replacement. It was an elevation. He listened, really listened. His aides translated for William, who looked like he might faint. 3 hours later, the vault was opened, the astrolabe installed under special lighting, the press release rewritten. The sheikh walked into the gallery, paused at the display, and bowed, not to the piece, but to me. "You understand honor," he said in English. "This is what I fund." He doubled his pledge on the spot, $100 million total, and requested my oversight for all future cultural integrations. William pulled me aside afterward. "Zoe, I don't know what to say. That was extraordinary." I smiled. For the first time, I felt seen. The next morning, an email arrived from David Thomas, CEO of Artemis Global, the most powerful private art management firm in the world. He'd been at the opening, standing quietly in the back, subject. Coffee. The meeting was 1 hour, in a private room at the Carlyle. He was direct. "What you did last night wasn't coordination, it was strategy. You operate in the space between cultures, between intent and execution. That's not teachable, it's rare." He offered a challenge. 3 months, multi-round, secretive. Case studies, crisis simulations, strategy proposals, all outside my day job. The winner would become director of culture, a new role he was creating. Salary, $350,000 base, $600,000 in equity over 4 years. I accepted on the spot. January arrived like a storm. The challenges were brutal. I worked until 2 a.m. most nights, balancing my museum job with Artemis assignments. 1 week. Resolve a dispute, between a Chinese collector and a European auction house over a forged scroll. I flew to Hong Kong, negotiated in Mandarin, uncovered the forgery, saved the deal. Another week. Design a cultural integration plan for a Saudi prince's private museum. I proposed a rotating exhibit of women artists from the region, secured funding from 3 governments. Each time, I delivered. Quietly, precisely, unseen, until the moment it mattered. By February, I was in the final round. The last challenge, a live crisis simulation. A fictional museum in crisis, donor pulling out, press scandal, board in chaos. I had 72 hours. I didn't sleep. I mapped every stakeholder, every cultural nuance, every leverage point. My final presentation was 40 pages, flawless. David called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. Zoe, you didn't just win. You redefined the role. The offer was official. Director of Culture, start date March 1st. I signed the contract with a pen my therapist had given me. One that wrote in purple ink. A small rebellion. And then came my birthday. March 15th. My family, oblivious to everything, planned what they thought would be my final humiliation. The restaurant was Le Ciel, a Michelin-starred rooftop in Soho. Exclusive, obscene. Private dining room, floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights glittering below. Mom was in a custom Dior gown, chirping about Jessica's latest case. Dad raised a glass of 1982 Chateau Margaux for a toast that never mentioned me. Jessica filmed everything on her phone, already planning the Instagram post. They slid the gold leaf envelope across the table like a verdict. I opened it. Formal notice of disownment. No inheritance, no trust access, no family name. Signed by Michael, Jennifer, and Jessica Miller. I read it twice. Then I folded it, slid it into my clutch, and smiled. Calm, steady, new. Thank you, I said. This makes everything so much easier. They expected tears, hysterics, a scene. Instead, I finished my salmon, complimented the chef, and left. The next night was the museum's annual gala, the social event of the season. Black tie, red carpet, every donor, every board member, every society page photographer in attendance. I wore a black Valentino gown I'd bought with my first Artemis check. No alterations needed. I walked the carpet alone. Flashes popped. Zoe Miller, who are you wearing? I smiled. Myself? Inside, the CEO of the Met, Dr. Elena Ramirez, took the stage. Tonight, we honor a visionary who has redefined cultural stewardship. She turned to me. Zoe Miller, our new director of culture. The room erupted. I walked on stage, heels clicking, and delivered my keynote, my strategy, my vision, the Aljuing, the doubled funding, the fellowship I'd created in my name for underrepresented art students. Standing ovation, 3 minutes long. Table 1 where my family sat was a tableau of shock. Mom's mouth open. Dad's glass frozen halfway to his lips. Jessica's phone forgotten in her hand. I stepped down, walked to their table. You missed the part where I saved the Aljuing, I said quietly, and the part where I became the youngest director in Artemis history. Mom hissed. This is inappropriate! Jessica accused. You're embarrassing us. Dad went pale. I smiled. No, you did that yourselves. Security appeared. 2 men in tuxedos. Ma'am, you'll need to leave. They weren't talking to me. The fallout was swift and brutal. The Post ran a photo of Mom being escorted out. Caption, Miller matriarch removed from Met Gala. Dad's firm faced investor calls, whispers of instability. Jessica's partnership vote was delayed. Partners questioning her judgment. I stood in my new office at Artemis, floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking Central Park, the framed disownment notice beside my Columbia degree. I launched the Zoe Miller Fellowship that week, $1 million endowment, funding art students who reminded me of my younger self. Quiet, overlooked, but brilliant. The notice meant to break me had become my permission to rise. I moved into a new apartment in Tribeca, all glass and light, no traces of the Upper East Side brownstone. I stopped answering calls from unknown numbers. I unfollowed Jessica on every platform. I deleted the family group chat. I wasn't angry. I was free. The lesson? Choosing yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you whole. It makes you unbreakable. The quietest moves are often the most powerful. Walking away isn't defeat. It's the first step to walking into your life. If you've ever been the invisible one, the scapegoat, the disappointment in your family, know this. Your story isn't over. Your value was never theirs to define. Sometimes the greatest revenge is living so well they can't ignore you. Sometimes the greatest victory is building a table where you're the guest of honor. And that's exactly what I did. So here's my question to you. Have you ever had to choose yourself over the people who should have chosen you first? Maybe it was a job, a relationship, or a family that left you unseen. Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear it. Because if my story taught me anything, it's that silence isn't weakness. It's the pause before you take back control. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and stay tuned. Every story like this matters. Every voice that's been quiet deserves to be heard. You're not alone. If this sparked the ember in your chest smash, subscribe, ring bell drop. Where are you watching from? Below. Share with anyone told they're not enough. They need to know the quiet ones rise loudest. Comment your chose myself moment. New fire every 24 hours. Stay locked.